Hi, and welcome to Cafe Card Thursday. I'm designer Jen Gallagher, and today we're using some Stampin' Up! Products to create a card. The first thing that I wanted to show you are some of the items we'll use to create this card. One thing that I love about Stampin' Up! Is they do offer many products that coordinate that make the process of creating much easier. This is a Thinlit die set that includes leaves and some flora and some fauna and different flower shapes and items. What makes this fun, you can use it as a standalone die set, or you can purchase the flower patch set that goes with it. And this is a stamp set, and the pictures that are posted on the front here are actually smaller than they actually are inside the set. But what you do is you stamp the image and then you can die cut it. So that makes the process of creating so much easier. We're going to be using several Stampin' Up! Pads. I love Stampin' Up! Pads. They do nice clean ink and they are true to color. Blushing Bride, we're going to use some Gumball Green, Crushed Curry, Tangerine Tango, and we may mix in some additional colors as we go. But basically what I have done is I used the suggested colors or matching colors from a paper collection that I thought was really beautiful. And you can see here all the patterns that come in this particular set. And this set is called Flower Pot. And it has lots of beautiful navies and greens, but it's really bright and kind of full of sunshine. So let's go ahead and get started and make a card using these beautiful Stampin' Up! Products. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp a flower onto a sheet of crushed curry cardstock. There is matching cardstock for many of these stamping inks included in the Stampin' Up! Lineup. We are using this particular stamp. It's a beautiful layered stamp. And then I'm going to use the crushed curry ink. And I wanted to get a really vibrant image. So that is why I'm stamping onto a cardstock color that matches the collection. We'll press firmly. You can see underneath my cardstock I've placed a foam base. This makes sure that I get a nice clean stamped image. Now let me show you what it looks like when I have stamped and die cut on white. And it's beautiful and it's vibrant, but it's not quite as vibrant as it is on the cardstock. So these are the options that you have. Now to run it through your die cut machine, we need to cut this out so that it will fit on the die cutting plate, and you're going to need the corresponding die. Today I'm using the Sizzix Big Shot machine, and I'm also using a magnetic platform. On top of that, I'm placing one of my cutting plates. You can see that it's well used. Then I'm going to place that stamped image. Now what you'll need to do is place the die with the cutting edge face down, and you'll need to turn and twist the die until it outlines the stamped shape the way that you want it to, and the magnet will help hold it in place. Then you need to place another plate on top, and then you can run it through your die cutting machine. Here's how your shape will look when it is cut with that coordinating die. You'll notice that it leaves a little bit of an edge and it's a little bit off-centered. If you want to make sure that it is perfectly cut, you can place it on top and then place some decorative or washi tape across the top of it, right on top of that cutting plate, and it will hold it in place a little bit. But I don't mind this look. It's kind of an artistic look, and I like that it's a little bit off-centered. So we're going to go ahead and use this die. We're going to repeat these steps for the other shapes that we are stamping and die cutting for today's card. Once again, we're going to use a stamp, and we're going to stamp right into a cardstock that matches. I'm using a dark green cardstock. This is also from Stampin' Up! And it has a smooth texture to it, which means when I stamp into the cardstock, I get a nice clean stamped image. If you're using textured cardstock, if you flip it over onto the back side, you can easily do this as well. Again, we're going to use one of the coordinating dies. Make sure that you place it with the cutting edge down, and we'll put it right around the outside edge of the leaf. This is how it's going to look when it is die cut and complete. You want to make 2 of these leaves. The next bit of stamping I want to do is I want to create the sentiment for the stamp. So I'm going to take one of the phrases that says, "You overwhelm me with your awesomeness," and I'm using some navy stamping ink, and I'm going to stamp along the edge of this white cardstock. And this is Nina Solar White. It's 110 pound weight, and it's a nice smooth cardstock for stamping. And I want you to stamp this twice, once with the navy and once with the orange. Now let's go ahead and put this card together. First, I'm using a standard card size. It's a craft card. To the front of that, I'm going to adhere this beautiful floral pattern paper that comes from the Flower Pot collection. And I'm using some Thermoweb double-sided sticky runner. It's like a glue runner. Across that, I am going to take a 3-inch tall by 5.5-inch wide sheet of the blue pattern paper, also from Stampin' Up. We'll mount that right across the center. So you get a hint of that beautiful pattern, but you also as well just have a nice blue to work with. Across the bottom, I'm going to take another strip. It's 1 inch tall by 5.5 inches wide, and I'm going to add some crochet twine to the side of it. So we'll just wrap it around about 4 times, and then we'll tie it into a bow before placing it onto the card front. This brings in some of that white that you see on the blue pattern paper, and it also brings in some texture to the card. Once you have that how you like, you can adjust it as needed, and then we'll mount this on the card. Now before I mount it, I realized I'd like a little bit of a hint of craft cardstock. So what I'm going to do is take this sheet that I have left over from another project, and I'm going to take another Stampin' Up! Punch that I love, and this is a notebook border punch, and I'm using the guide to start the punch, and then to repeat the pattern, you simply slide the guide right up into that other punched hole, and then punch again, and that starts to create that edge. Now here's what it looks like when it's all punched out. So let's adhere it by adding some glue to the bottom of that border strip, and then I like to center it on the actual punched shape, meaning that I'm going to have the same amount of pattern on both sides. So you can see I've centered those punched out border shapes to be similar. And then we can adhere this at the bottom of the card. And then to add a little bit more texture, we're going to distress it a little bit by using our fingers to crumple it up. Make sure that it does stay in place, and add more adhesive if necessary. Just crumple that up. You can even rip some of them off like you would a notebook paper if you'd torn it out of a notebook. Make sure it is on straight. And then to this, we are going to add the stamped flower. Now here's what the flower looks like. Then we also have the 2 leaves. So we'll adhere these to the card. And you can see now how that nice bold yellow really stands out on the card. If I'd used the white, it wouldn't have been quite as vibrant, and I didn't feel like it matched the pattern paper I was going to use. I liked on the pattern paper the nice vibrant colors. So I'll adhere these 2 leaves. Now one additional stamped item that I made was this flower, and you can see it here on the stamp. It's just a nice solid flower. We're going to add this to the center of the yellow. I did it in the tangerine that is so bright, and the nice thing about this particular set is you can layer them however you wish. Then to the center of that flower, I'm going to take a button, and it's tied with twine, and it's in that blushing bride pink, that nice salmon pink. And then we're going to fold up the petals of the tangerine flower a little bit by placing my pointer finger in the center and then curving up the other items. And you can do this before. And I'm going to go ahead and add a glue dot to make sure that it stays a little bit better on that flower. Now here is that stamped image. You'll notice that I did it in navy and I also did it in orange, and then I simply pinked the edges. And we'll go ahead and add that to the card, overlapping it just a little bit. And to finish off the card, I just want to add a few little enamel dots to bring some of that navy back into the project. So there you have a card that uses the Stampin' Up! Stamps and coordinating dies, as well as the Flower Pot pattern paper collection. Be sure to subscribe to the Scrapbook on Cards Today magazine YouTube channel so you don't miss out on all of our card and layout tutorial videos.